Hey everybody, it's Silver Seeker, and today I wanted to share something with you. Over the last few years, as I've been a silver stacking YouTuber and have grown over 50,000 subscribers now, thank you by the way for that, I really do appreciate it. I have noticed in my comments and in the emails that I get and the messages that I get in Discord that a lot of people regard me as an expert in this field. And I'm going to look you straight in the face and tell you that I am not. I do not consider myself to be an expert in silver stacking. There are people out there that have been doing it way longer than me and know way more than I have. That being said, I can officially say that I have been stacking for decades. That is plural now. So I do have a lot of experience, but I certainly don't consider myself to be an expert in the field. That being said, again, with over 50,000 subs, I get a lot of questions, emails, and comments. And what I wanted to do in today's video is go through some of those comments and respond to them and tell you my opinions on some of the comments that people have left. And then additionally, I asked some of my channel members if they would do me a favor and leave a question that they would like for me to answer on video. And so we're going to do those today as well. So guys, let's get started looking at these comments. But again, I just want to say thank you so much for helping me get to over 50,000 subscribers. It's incredible and I really do appreciate it. All right, let's go. All right, everyone, so I have 12 sets of questions and comments ready to go from some of my last few videos and, of course, those questions I asked my channel members. So let's get started. This first one comes from my Coin Shops First Pawn Shops video. In this video, I actually called around to three different coin shops and three different pawn shops in the same area as the coin shop to see who was paying more for silver. Duke Nukem said, ironically, today I was looking to sell 500 ounces of silver buffaloes. One shop was paying 25. They were selling for 28. The shop that I took them to gave me 26, which was awesome. And keep in mind, when I recorded this video, silver was around 23. So that was, $3 over spot. That's really good. But they were selling for 28 also. Getting 26 surprised me. But if you find a shop that really needs silver, it helps. And that is absolutely true. I think that's one of the points that I've been trying to make with all the videos where I called around to different coin shops is that you need to look around. You don't just go to the first shop and just accept their word for it. Call multiple, go to multiple if you need to, and then sell to the person who wants them the most, who's going to pay you the most if you're looking to sell to a coin shop. Obviously, there are people that think you should sell yourself, and we have comments like that coming up. So this next comment right here comes from 50 Shades of Blue. It says, so sad to see how these pawn shops do with silver. My shop in blank, which I blanked out, will pay $1 over to take them in and $4.25 over to purchase 1 ounce rounds. 10 ounce and above, they are as low as 3 over spot, but they handle a lot of silver. So this kind of goes into Duke Nukem's comment as well. It really does depend on the shop, but here's another example of a good shop that is paying strong and selling cheap. They still have to make a profit. Shops have overhead to cover, so of course they can't just buy it for $1 over and then sell it for $1.50 over. They can't keep the lights on that way. They can't pay their employees that way. But it's good to see that there are shops with really good spreads that are paying well and selling at a good price as well. All right, number 3, this one comes from Major Seabass for the same video. He says, at one of my local pawn shops, the bars and rounds are overpriced, like 40 an ounce. Wow. But the constitutional silver is 20 times face, while the coin shops in my area sell constitutional for 22. Sadly, I live in California, so 20x is probably the best you can find around my area at least. So this is a good example. Coin shops, when they look at constitutional silver, those old dimes, quarters, and half dollars, they aren't pretty, they aren't shiny, so they probably sell them, if they need to, a little bit cheaper just to get them in and out of the shop really quick, turn around and make some profit. That being said, I'd be interested in knowing what that pawn shop pays for their 90%. They're selling it 20 times, so do they pay 18, do they pay 17, or do they pay like 10? Unfortunately, we don't have that answer, but thank you, Major Seabass, for the comment. Our next one here comes from Don. There's actually 2. So this one says, I think figuring out how you will sell for maximum gain should be on every stacker's to-do list. That may be developing relationships, joining clubs, or selling online. But you have to have that play skill long before you will need to sell. Or that plan/skill long before you would need to sell. Probably best to develop and use that throughout your stacking years. If you plan to just sell to the coin shop after years of paying high premiums, you're going to take a beating. Good stuff as always. Cheers. Thank you for that, Don. And then Blue Diamond Gem says eBay if you're selling most anything. So I will, 2 things about these comments. Selling online is absolutely great. Keep in mind that when you sell online, you have eBay fees, which are astronomical. You have to pay PayPal, and you have to deal with shipping. So Shipping cost, you can charge the customer, but generally they are not going to pay you as much if they know they have to pay shipping, especially if you're just selling generic silver. So selling generic silver on eBay usually isn't the best option. By the time you give eBay their 10% and whatever the transaction fee that eBay is going to charge, or PayPal if it's through PayPal, because I believe they still allow that for bullion. And then you have to deal with the post office. You have to worry about packages getting lost in the mail, which, by the way, I ship a lot of stuff, and it definitely is a good way to go. But I have had issues with packages. In fact, I'm dealing with one right now where I sent a slab and it got caught in a machine and literally destroyed the slab. The customer actually sent me the pictures of the slab all busted up and the packaging, and it was bad. So that's a lot of stuff to deal with. Whereas when you go into like a shop, whether it be a pawn shop or a local coin store or whatever, you walk in, you give them the silver or whatever you're going to sell, they give you the money and you walk out. Yes, you may end up with less at the end of the day, but when you look at if you're looking for the least amount of hassle, just make sure you find the good shop like the people previous that had shops that were paying well. If you want to just have very little hassle and go to them, it's not going to kill you. But again, absolutely right. Both of these guys are right. If you want the most, then you definitely need to sell yourself, whether it's locally to friends or people that you meet at coin clubs, etc., going to coin shows, and things like that, or selling online. Obviously, you will get the most return when you sell it yourself because you don't have to worry about the shops that have to cover that overhead. That being said, like I said, there's a lot to deal with in that, and so some people just may not have the patience or the will to do so. Okay, so next up, this one comes from Google, not actually Google, but Google, we'll just say that. He says, imagine silver went parabolic while the pawn shop has them. They will close down to make sure you don't get them back. Come on, that's a stretch. A pawn shop is, so what he's talking about here, by the way, is I had noticed in that video, the last pawn shop that we called actually offered to allow us to pawn the silver, and then I think only 10% is what they would charge to get it back. So if you pawned it for 20, you'd have to pay 22 to get it back. That's actually lower than what a lot of the buy-sell spread is right now. So I had said, man, it's interesting. If you find a pawn shop that's willing to pawn for 10%, and then you pay 10% to get that back, it's actually better than if you sold it to a shop that's buying for, say, 20, and then, selling it back for 25. That's actually a much bigger spread than the 10% that the pawn shop is charging for pawning the silver. So his argument is, and keep in mind, I'm not saying you should do that, but it's something that I had never considered until I talked to that pawn shop. Anyway, what his argument is that if silver skyrockets, they're going to close so you don't get your silver back. They're not going to do that. Listen, if a pawn shop's survival depends on your 20 ounces or 40 ounces of silver and the little bit more that they're going to make on it because silver went parabolic, they probably aren't going to be in business very long anyway. There's a lot of pawn shops out there that they make way more money off people selling their old electronics and video games and things like that because they buy them dirt cheap and then they turn around and sell them for a very good profit. So trust me, a shop is not going to completely close its operation down unless it's one that's getting ready to go out of business anyway. But it's not going to completely close its whole operation down just because silver skyrocketed and they happen to have 20 or 40 of your silver ounces in pawn right now. So again, it's not something I'm recommending doing, pawning your silver. But if you look at, like I said, 10% is really a lower differential than what you would buy and then sell for, or sell and then buy for right now at a shop. You would actually pay more than 10% if you walked into a coin shop, sold your silver, and then walked out of the door, walked back in, and then wanted to buy it back. You'd pay more than 10%. So that's what I was talking about. Additionally, it covers you if silver drops, or goes up, because you can still buy it back. If silver goes from 20 to 24 while it's in pawn, you still get it back for 22, right? So anyway, let's go. Let's keep on going. Next up, this one comes from Pine. He says, pawn shops are the closest thing to legal robbery that exists. It's got to be a great business to get into if you get to buy everything at half price, not bullion necessarily, and then resell at near retail. Pine, I think you aren't aware of how little that these big retail markets pay for some of the stuff that you walk in. If you go into a Walmart, the majority of stuff that you buy, the stuff that they really want you to buy, they have a markup of 50% or more on already. So they're buying these things from distributors for way cheap. And you actually can see this if you just want to see this firsthand, if you ever watch like Shark Tank, and they're talking about what the retail is on an item and then what the wholesale is. The wholesale is what they're selling it to the shops for. So the place might be, what's the retail? Oh, it's $24.99. Oh, okay, what's the wholesale? The sharks are asking. Oh, we sell them for $7. So you have these big retailers buying things for $7 and then turning around and selling them to you for $24.99. Granted, they need to make money. I'm not arguing that, but my point is that if you think for a second that pawn shops are the only place not doubling their money on the stuff that they get, you are wrong. It's all over the place. And additionally, something you have to consider with pawn shops is, if you ever been to a pawn shop that's been open for like a decade or more, they have stuff everywhere. They have things that they probably bought 10 years ago that they never sold. And so they have to protect themselves there as well. So they can't buy something and only expect to make 10% more on it, because they need to be able to sell. Let's say they buy 5 things. They need to be able to sell 3 of those and already be in the profit, because those other 2 things may not just sell. So that's something else to consider. And you can see that. Just walk into a pawn shop that's been open for at least 10 years and look around. You would not believe the amount of stuff they have that they were never able to get rid of. So, all right, guys, next up, we are going to get into this video right here. This is losing faith in silver. I think this is the only comment I actually pulled from that video. But I was talking about how I believe people are losing faith in silver. I've noticed, lower views on my videos and things like that. Ironically, since I did that video, those numbers have started to move up. I don't know if it's because silver's been moving back up or not. But anyway, he says it shouldn't be a surprise that interest in silver has fallen. Many people regard silver as a hedge against inflation, but even after the most recent inflation report came out, which showed an inflation of up to nearly 6%, I believe it was 6.2 actually, silver spot price has decreased. Silver premiums remain ridiculously high, so much so that you'd be paying roughly 40% premium to buy an American Silver Eagle. I think the general public that only became interested in silver during the silver squeeze are disenchanted and are leaving silver behind. That was kind of my argument, that I was making in that video with the silver squeeze, leaving people behind, because they got into it with these magical visions of becoming gazillionaires. And all of us, seasoned silver stackers know that that's not how it works. That being said, you can't look at silver and how silver hedges against inflation on like a 1 or 2 year basis. Silver always seems to lag behind when it comes to keeping up with inflation. But if you look at historically, and I did a video on this a while back, I covered this exact thing where I showed historically silver absolutely kept up with inflation. I actually went all the way back into, I believe, the early 60s, and I showed that if you had taken your cash and put it under a mattress, you would have been much worse off than just buying silver. In fact, silver actually surpassed a lot of the things like home prices, food prices, gas prices, at least kept up with or surpassed the increase in value going all the way back to the 60s. So granted, that doesn't factor in premiums, and he's right. Premiums are really high. So if you're wanting to stack silver and you're wanting to do it cheap, don't look at Silver Eagles, because the premiums on Silver Eagles are insane. Everyone looks at Silver Eagles and say, the premiums are so high. Listen, you don't have to buy Eagles. The premiums on generic have been coming down, and they continue to come down. So it's something really, really exciting to see those premiums get back to normal. Hopefully we'll be back to complete normal really soon. Okay, so the next questions we have come from my community tab post that I made for my channel members. This first one here comes from Greg Kasky. He says, what would be the easiest way to start stacking silver, i.e. constitutional silver, generic rounds, etc.? Is it better to stack one type of silver or diversify? So if you're talking about diversification, but you're also just talking about silver, in other words, you want to diversify the types of silver you're stacking, yeah, you should definitely do so. For example, if you have 1,000 ounces of silver, you don't want 10 100-ounce bars. They're harder to move. You get a little bit less for them when you go to sell them as well. Whereas if you have 1-ounce rounds, let's say you need to sell 50 of them for an emergency that comes up, then you can just sell 50. You don't have to sell the whole 100-ounce bar and then have to rebuy back the 50 ounces of silver that you didn't want to sell in the first place. So yeah, you absolutely want to do that. As far as what's the best type to get into it, honestly, I think constitutional is a really good way to go, but the most important thing is just to really enjoy what you stack. So for example, if you really like, Walking Liberty half dollar, start with those, because enjoying the coin or the round or the bar that you're buying, if you enjoy them, if you enjoy having them on top of just being a stack, then it's going to help you continue to do so. And then next up, Kevin says, is the silver market unstable right now, seeing that the price has gone down for a while with people saying it will go down lower? Is it good for new stackers to start stacking now? Is it good for new stackers to start stacking now? That's a really tough question. I mean, whenever the market's in a bear market or a bull market, there's always going to be people that say you should stay away from it. It's in a bull market, so it's ready to go back down. You don't want to get in at the peak, right? It's in a bear market, so don't buy it because it's going to continue to go down. You're going to lose money. The truth is about stacking silver, one thing that I have noticed from a lot of people that have talked to me over the years is that whether or not silver's doing really well, stacking silver has been a good way for them to at least protect their wealth. So even if they lost money on the premium or the spot went down after they bought it, you know, it's better than going out and buying something. Let's say you have a $100 thing you're going to buy, you're going to enjoy for 2 days, and then it's going to be gone. Yeah, it's great to enjoy things because we only live so long, but at the same time, you're not building your wealth that way. Even if your silver has lost some of the value since you bought it, you still have the wealth. It's not going to go to zero like a lot of the things that you buy and use for a week and then put on a shelf, and then, you know, you paid $100 for something that next week you have in a yard sale for $2. Silver's never going to do that to you. So I think it's always a good time to stack silver. Granted, there are better times than others. But, you know, just be careful, you know, watch the markets and always buy when you feel comfortable. And the most important thing I'll tell you is that never buy in debt. Just so you guys know, I'm a huge believer that you should never buy silver with debt. In other words, don't put it on a credit card. That is, unless you have the money to pay off the credit card immediately so you don't draw interest and then you earn 2% back for rewards points or whatever. But besides that, don't ever take a loan out. I've seen people say, I took a mortgage out of my house so I could buy more silver. No, don't do that. You're going to lose all the money on the interest that you're paying on that second mortgage. And additionally, if silver goes down, you're going to lose money twice over. It's just a bad idea. So yeah, never ever buy in debt. All right, so next up, number 9, we have, this one comes from Sparky's 406 Coins. He says, I've been steadily buying all types of silver. I assume coin capsules would be the best for long-term storage. If that is the best, what type/brand should I use? I bought some from an internet site. I haven't been able to get one open. Came close to a knife accident. Oh no, I've done that. All one size would be easiest, I would guess, maybe with a foam insert. Please help. So when you're storing silver, like if you're buying like highly collectible silver, like the stuff with high premiums on it, you know, for example, I love to buy those really cool things that come out. I like the video game ones that have been coming out, like Miss Pac-Man and Pac-Man and Galaga and all that stuff like that. Yeah, you absolutely want to keep those in capsules. You want them to stay beautiful. But for generic silver, like rounds, 90%, stuff like that, just buy tubes. Like a little bit of toning on your 1 ounce generic Buffalo isn't going to lower its value whatsoever. So it's still an ounce of silver at the end of the day. And so for stuff like that, it's silly to waste like $1 to $1.50 per capsule or whatever you may be spending on your capsules per coin. I mean, just that's an extra premium that you don't really need to spend. So for highly collectible stuff, absolutely, because you're collecting it. You want it to stay gorgeous. But for just generic rounds, bars, 90%, stuff like that, just tubes is fine. All right, so next up, this one is from Tim Pace. It says, if you weren't a YouTube creator, would you consider your stacking collecting a hobby or a store of wealth? Both, because as I've said already kind of in this video, I love beautiful designs on silver, so I absolutely consider it a hobby. Additionally, I do consider it a store of wealth. Like I said earlier, even if silver goes down, it's still better than going out and blowing it on something that you're going to enjoy for one night, and then next day you're going to have it on a yard sale for $2 where you spent $100 on it a year ago. So yeah, I absolutely would consider it. I've been stacking, keep in mind, I think I said at the beginning of this video, I can officially say that I've been a stacker for 2 decades now. Like officially, I can say that I have had silver for multiple decades, for plural decades, if you will. So yeah, it was way before YouTube, and I definitely would consider it a hobby and a store of wealth. So yep, there you go. Okay, next up, this one comes from Jeremy Z. He says, how would you explain the pros of stacking silver to friends and family, considering the year we had in 2021? Many people I know are very skeptical of silver and more interested in crypto and NFTs. Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh at NFTs. I just, the idea of NFTs is funny to me. Like, I'm not a big fan of crypto, but at least I acknowledge crypto as being a thing. NFTs are just dumb. I'm sorry, you might unsubscribe, but NFTs are dumb. One guy explained NFTs to me like this. I'll keep it more PC than he explained it, but let's just put it into a perspective like this. Imagine you're married to a beautiful woman, but she's going around town and she's kissing all the other guys. But you have the marriage certificate. That's the NFT. that's that, you know, it's pretty funny, but you get the point. The point is that I'm just not a fan of NFTs. It's basically just saying that you are the digital right holder to an image that everyone else has a copy of, so whatever. That said, crypto it's hard to argue against the fact that if you put $1,000 into crypto in 2012, that you'd be a millionaire today. And so a lot of people look at crypto and they see that as their way of possibly, winning the lottery, which is essentially what it was. If you put 2012 $1,000 into Bitcoin, you were gambling and you won, and congratulations. Which, by the way, you can say the same for silver, but you can't tell people that, hey, if you went back to 1950 and put $1,000 into silver, you'd be a millionaire today, because you wouldn't. You actually you'd still not be a millionaire today, even if you put $1,000 back in 1950. Plus, you probably wouldn't be here because that was 72 years ago. But yeah, it's hard to argue silver versus crypto, because people look at crypto as a way to make a ton of money to become the next millionaire, and people look at silver as a store of wealth. So it's a totally different thing. It's like apples and oranges to me. I don't consider crypto a store of wealth. I consider crypto a really good way to make money. People call it the future of money, maybe so, but there's just so many things that are challenging it right now. There's not a whole lot to challenge gold and silver. I mean, gold and silver are fungible. They're physical precious metals that you have in your hand. They're always going to be worth something. Whether or not you become a millionaire is irrelevant. The point is that you're protecting your money against loss, against completely going to zero, against the Zimbabwe dollar, or something like that happened in Venezuela. That's why you're stacking silver. You're not stacking it to become a millionaire. So you have to ask them, listen, are you into crypto because you want to have a chance of becoming the next millionaire? Or are you trying to protect the money that you already have against complete and total annihilation? And that's where precious metals really come into play. So I don't know. That's how I look at it. At least there may be people that have better explanations, which they can leave a comment down below for you, Jeremy. But that's how I look at it. But NFTs. Anyway. All right. So guys, next and final, we have a couple of comments here. BC Mike says, how to keep your silver stack in control is my biggest question, I think. Not looking for your specific situation, but how do you store it? I have safety deposit boxes, but if you just have silver coming in and none going out, what's the best, most secure way to store it? Safety deposit boxes, the problem with that is if the bank is closed and you need access to your silver, you just can't get it. Like if you need your silver on a Sunday, how are you going to get it out of the bank? Or if we have some sort of infrastructure collapse and the bank can't open for a couple of weeks, it's going to be really hard to get what's in your safety deposit box out of your safety deposit box. So if you are worried about something like that happening, it's definitely not the best way to go. As far as where to store it, I mean, it's hard to tell you what to do because there's a million ways. I mean, there's not a million ways. There's just a few ways. But there are like vault programs where they have a storage vault where you can rent a safety deposit box, but it gives you more access than a bank. And they keep it in like it's precious metal storage. You have to look it up online. Of course, you can keep it safe in the house. The most important thing, and actually this is going to go in the Silver Keeper's comment as well, where Silver Keeper says, where's the best place to store silver if you don't want to leave it in a bank or safe at home? The most important thing is to not tell people about it. And I know that's ironic given that I'm a YouTuber with my face here in front of you telling you, hey, I stack silver. Don't tell people you stack silver. Just keep it somewhere safe and store it. And put it in a safe in the bottom of your basement. Dig a hole in your garage and then, cover it with something so no one would ever know it's there. I don't know. The thing is that it's the most important thing is just to not go around advertising that you have a bunch of silver at home. You guys know, because I've said this 1,000 times, I do not keep my silver at home. I do keep a little bit because I need it for what I do on YouTube. But outside of that, the primary stuff I stack, I definitely keep in an offsite storage, and that's for safety because I don't want anyone to think that if they came here and broke into my house that they'd get much, because they wouldn't. So anyway, it's hard to give you a specific answer on that, but look into offsite silver storage programs. Look into digging a hole in your garage floor, or just looking to hide in it. I had a friend that used to hide his 1 ounce silver rounds in the bottom of his fish tank. When I asked him why, he said if people break in, they're not going to look in my fish tank. He also had one in a cardboard box that he wrapped with a bunch of tape, and he just left it on the floor as a door prop. So when he wanted to prop his door open, he'd just kick it in front of his door. It was just a heavy box with tape. A heavy cardboard box with tape is all people saw it as. But little did they know, it was a 100-ounce silver bar. So, guys, that is it for those today. I do appreciate you joining me. I will do more of these in the future. I know these aren't the most popular videos on my channel, but it's always fun to get in and do my best to answer the questions that you guys give me and respond to some of the comments live here on video. So, guys, if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor. Don't forget to go down below. Make sure you're subscribed. It really helps the channel out, and I appreciate it. And with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.